Welcome back everybody to the Wandering Samurai Study, in which we review and analyze every single act told in Rerunning Kenshin, and today's act is Act 30, Dual Conclusions, Aoshi. And this is the finale, the long-awaited finale of the Oniwaban storyline, and it ends with Aoshi, which is fitting. But before we get into all of this, I kind of have an announcement to make. From here forward, after video 30 or act 30, I will be transitioning over from dual or 2 videos a week to 1 video a week from the Wandering Samurai Study series. And this is so that I can go and start exploring other videos to add to the channel, so that it's not just this constant line of black and white images as the thumbnails, and so that I give people who are interested in checking out the Wandering Samurai Study but are probably intimidated from starting because there's 30 episodes ahead of everybody. This way, if you miss a week of the video series, you don't feel like you're too far behind. You don't have 4 videos to catch up if you're 2 weeks behind. Instead, you only have 2 videos to watch if you're 2 weeks behind or something. And also, I've been itching to make other type of videos, and it's been very difficult to make these 2 videos with my current work schedule. And I think that if maybe I have only 1 video up a week from Wandering Samurai Study, I can use that other time to focus on other videos, other video ideas that I've been itching to make. And those other videos, I don't want to promise that they're gonna be every Sunday or like every week, but you know, when the idea is there and the work is put in, it'll go up as soon as possible. But I'll try to be more consistent with scripted videos as well as the Wandering Samurai Study. The Wandering Samurai Study isn't going anywhere, it's just kind of slowing down on its upload schedule. But I just wanted you guys all to know. Thank you guys, everybody who has been supporting the series up until now. I very much appreciate you guys all. And thank you guys for showing me that you guys care about Kenshin just as much as I do. And without further ado, let's get into the chapter summary review, and we'll talk about the Oniwaban's final bout. The chapter picks up right after the discovery of Aoshi missing. Megumi shows the police and the group Konryu's secret escape and find that it's been used. Right as the police are about to search for him, Aoshi stands tall above a wall looking down at Kenshin holding the heads of his men. Kenshin tells Aoshi to train himself so that they may fight once more. This way he can give his men the title of the strongest. Aoshi accepts Kenshin's proposal, telling him not to get killed until he comes after him. The group returns to the dojo to meet Kaoru, who eagerly welcomes them back. Megumi becomes the assistant to the live-in doctor and continues her teasing nature towards Kaoru and now Sanosuke. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to mention in this chapter is that this secret hideout or the secret escape that Aoshi used to escape was mentioned in the previous act. Megumi told Kenshin that after she turns herself in, or while she's turning herself in, Kenshin and the rest of the group should use Konryu's secret escape. And then suddenly in this act, everybody's kind of forgetting about the secret escape. Well, I know that the police don't know about it, but Kenshin and the rest of the group, they're acting as if like they can't remember that this thing was mentioned. It's bizarre. But then suddenly Megumi remembers, even though she knows about it and she was just thinking about it. I guess it's just maybe one of those things where she was just caught up in the commotion of the police being there that it momentarily lapsed her mind. But I don't know, it's just kind of a little bit funny, like, oh, here is the secret escape that I suddenly remember existed, but I had forgotten up until now. Some type of stilted way of thinking. I love this final confrontation of Kenshin and Aoshi as the arc is wrapping up. I am so much more familiar with the Kenshin anime than I am with the manga. But I have read the manga before, and things such as these kind of slip my mind, and so it's always nice to kind of go back or to kind of come back and then see this, and then I'm like, oh right, the heads were cut off, and oh right, Kenshin and Aoshi actually get to have a final confrontation, and Kenshin actually sows the seeds for their rematch in a future date or in a future time. It's so much better here in the manga, and I appreciate it all that much more, that we actually have Kenshin talking to Aoshi front to front or face to face one last time after everything is settled with Kanryu, and we see a broken Aoshi looking down at Kenshin, and Kenshin telling him to train himself so that he can fight him once more. But I also love this though, because Sanosuke adds this later on in the act itself and says, hey, so you purposely, put a target on your back so that Aoshi has a reason to live. And yes, that's exactly what happened here. I love this because it just signifies that Kenshin, whether friend or foe, if he can save a life, he will do whatever needs to be done so that a life may be saved. And I really, really like this because it just makes Kenshin just that much more of a noble person, very much an exception to the rule, as we seem to see with these Inshinshishi, that corruption doesn't happen to everybody just because you have power. But also, Aoshi's character arc isn't yet concluded, and so for it to be cut abruptly just because his men were killed, and if Aoshi were to just kind of disappear into the ether, it would really be disappointed, because his men died and then he just kind of disappears. Like, we don't know what happens to this wounded soul. So I'm glad that Kenshin set the seeds so that a rematch may happen, and we can see the character arc of Aoshi Shinomori be concluded at a later time. And when it finally does come, we'll go ahead and discuss it. But I love that this is something that's going to be so much more than anything that we've seen up until this point. Because in the previous storyline, Jine dies, and that's kind of it. That's the end of that. There's an allusion to a politician who is pulling strings behind the scenes to remove the corruption, but that's not going to be addressed for a while, it seems. And even so, like, we're really kind of kept in the dark, but we know that at some point Aoshi is going to come back for a rematch, and I like that. But also, in the moment where we first see Aoshi and the group is at the, I guess, other end of the secret escape, Sanosuke is the first one to actually talk to Aoshi, and what he says was, the Oniwaban died to let you live, and they were happy to do it. I like it just in that it's not Kenshin the only one that is doing some of the delegating, I guess. Sanosuke was there too, and he has just as much to say as anybody else. What he's saying isn't wrong. It's almost as if, like, Sanosuke was compelled to speak up on behalf of everybody here, because he knows what it's like to lose somebody so dear to him and let it consume you. Sanosuke very much embodies this very much this very ideal. So for him to speak up to Aoshi and tell him, hey, they died for you, but they were happy to do it, don't lose yourself. But also, apart from that, before Sanosuke actually spoke up, the police were actually about to go after after Aoshi, and Sanosuke stops them and tells them, no. If you guys go, you guys are about to get killed, which is fantastic. Just again, reminding ourselves that it is Sanosuke, the guy who doesn't like the current state of the world, and he doesn't like anything that is attached to the government, but he's not so cold or so callous or so disconnected that he would allow these innocent men or these poor naive men to go and run into death. It just kind of seems like Sanosuke was a bit of a big brother in this situation. It was all done for comedic effect, and I'm laughing just kind of thinking about it, but it still had something to say about the character. Once all of this is wrapped up, we finally make it back to the dojo, and a character that I didn't realize how much I missed, we get to see again in Kaoru. Kaoru was such a nervous wreck waiting for the character. She apparently has bandages over her fingers. I guess it's probably from nail biting or something, that she was doing it very intense, that she needed to wrap up her fingers. But she adds some much needed comic relief to the story that I really much missed. Kaoru bouncing off of different characters is so needed because she is kind of like the central figure of the story. I know that Kenshin is the one that everybody looks towards, and it's really his story, but Kaoru kind of serves as a central point because it's her dojo that everybody kind of goes to hangs out at. It's her that met Kenshin in the first place. It's her interactions with all of these characters that make her such a great character and make these really great moments within the narrative. She has a way of bouncing off of different characters for different types of dynamics. She has the most range with all of these characters is really what I'm trying to say. She has a will they, won't they type of relationship between Kenshin and Kaoru. They're obviously each other's love interest, but then there's also the Onechan and little brother dynamic between her and Yahiko, but then there's also the student and master dynamic that the two have. Then there's also the big sister and little sister dynamic. Megumi now enters the group and she's teasing Kaoru a lot of the time, and Megumi and Kaoru's teasing also opens up a dynamic for Megumi and Tsunosuke, because right back on like clockwork, she starts teasing Kaoru the very moment that she gets the opportunity to. Tsunosuke speaks up and says, "Hey, I told you once before, she's very simple. Don't be doing that." All of a sudden now, like, Megumi is trying to tease Sanosuke now that the two have become, I guess, more so friends or a little bit more acquainted than they were at the start of the arc. I know that Kyoto and Jinchu are a lot of people's favorites storylines, and it's really where things get really heavy, but the Tokyo arc is a really good way of showing us these dynamics within the characters themselves. And I think that part of what makes Kenshin so good is the character dynamics as well, the way that the way these characters can bounce off of one another. Because Kenshin has a moment where he does like the typical shonen thing where Megumi tells Kenshin that she can entertain him, and Kenshin is kind of lost, like, entertain how? And Kaoru is kind of like getting upset. She's really bothered by Megumi's comments, but Kenshin never quite figures it out. And this is really silly just kind of thinking about it, because Kenshin is a 28-year-old man. How do you not know what she is implying here? A 28-year-old man such as Kenshin, it's no excuse for him not to understand what entertainment means. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Act 30 of the Wandering Samurai Study and Act 30 of Rurouni Kenshin. If you like this video and you want to see more, then consider subscribing to the channel and give this video a thumbs up, and comment down below, what did you guys think of the Oniwaban? What did you think of this entire storyline? What was your favorite parts? Were there any highs? Were there any lows? Were there any parts that kind of dragged for you and you kind of wish that it was over and you can kind of speed through it? What did you guys think? And let me know down below, please. I think we are going to start volume 4 next time, and I kind of peeped ahead, and we're getting some side content before we get into the main story with Raijuta. So I'll see you guys then. Bye, cha.